Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to If Plants Could Talk. This is Garrett. I'm your host. This conversation took place on June 27th, 2023, with my very special guest, Andrea of Just Suck It. Andrea joined me virtually yesterday from her home in Monrovia, California, and she is a passionate succulent collector, grower, and seller. She sells under the name Just Suck It, and Suck is spelled Succ, like succulent. You can go to justsuckit.com and get some succulents today, or you can check her out on Instagram and TikTok. I will make sure to plug links to all of her stuff in the description of this episode. Andrea is a very unique human being with a background in social work and health and wellness, and I think you can really see that shine through in her content and her videos. She's able to tie real life, real world problems that we as humans may experience to observations that she makes in plants and plant care. And it's really uplifting and positive, but she's also not afraid to show you some of the other aspects of her life, like she's raw and real. And I really enjoy her content. I think you will too. I want to take a moment to tell you guys about my sponsors and partnerships. If you scroll down into the description of this episode, you will find links to Mezcala Nursery located in Long Beach, California, Green Touch Nursery located in Bellflower, California. Big shout out to plantly.io. You can type in plantly.io into your web browser or download the free Plantly app on Android or iOS. If you are interested in becoming a vendor, I have provided the link for you to do so down in the description. I've been selling with Plantly, and I recently updated my shop with some new stuff. I've got some Dudleyas, some other succulents, some columnar cacti, and even some Opuntia, some purple prickly pear. You can search for me by typing in Earthling Botanical into Plantly or use the link in the description. So definitely check out Plantly. Real Mushrooms is a mushroom supplement company offering hot water extracts in both powder and capsule form. You can use code If Plants Could Talk at checkout or use my link in the description and you'll get 10% off your order. And next up is PlantWave. PlantWave is a device that translates the electrical frequencies and patterns that your plant gives off into sound and melodies. In other words, the water moving through your plant creates an electrical frequency, and that is then translated into sound via these electrodes. You hook up the Plant Wave device and the Plant Wave app. You can load different sounds and instruments to your liking and tune into your plants, hear the music that they're giving off. It's really cool. I have one. I posted some videos in my Instagram you can check out, or go to the Plant Wave YouTube. And next up is Bad Goose Botanicals. Bad Goose Botanicals is offering a supplement powder that is a nootropic, and it is made out of Metragonine speciosa, lion's mane, and ginseng. It is designed to elevate your mood, boost your energies, help you with focus and cognition. As you know, lion's mane creates new neural pathways in the brain. Ginseng is often used as a stimulant, and as is Metragonine speciosa. And Metragonine speciosa is a cousin to coffee. It comes off of a tree in the tropics in places like Indonesia and other Pacific Island areas. And it's been used as a plant medicine for thousands of years. You can often see people in Indonesia chewing on the leaves throughout the day for their energy levels. It also has other applications. Like I said, it can relieve your anxiety and really help boost your mood if you're feeling down or low energy. I've been taking it, and their product is fantastic. It is ethically grown, ethically harvested, and lab tested, and it comes in a beautiful resealable bag. So if you're ready to make a purchase, you can type in code If Plants Could Talk at checkout or use my link and you'll get 15% off your order. All right, here is Andrea. Just suck it, Andrea. You have a funny handle. Welcome to the show.
I'm
Thank you.
excited to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Where are you speaking to me from? I know you're in SoCal, right? You're a
I
local.
am. I'm in Monrovia.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you?
In Topanga Canyon?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, is
There's
that
some
not
good
too
hiking
far?
there. I think it's an hour
Oh, wow.
from, I'm right by Pasadena.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I got
beautiful
it.
there.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Old Town Monrovia. The best taco place is downtown Old Town Monrovia. So yummy.
I would like to start by saying I've been watching your reels for a while now, and I think we first made contact a while back. But I love that I feel like I'm getting like the real you behind these videos. You're authentic and you're raw and you're not afraid to be yourself, and your personality kind of shows. And I like that coming from a business, especially for a seller. I think that sets you apart and like makes people feel like they're developing a relationship with you, getting to know you and who you are, the person behind the business. So I admire that, and yeah, I love the positive messages that you're bringing forward too.
Thank you. So like we were chatting earlier, I'm a social worker and it's always been really important to me to connect with people. I'm really curious about people. I like to know what makes them happy, what makes them sad. And I also know that my problems, my situations are not unique. If I'm experiencing something, somebody else is.
Yeah.
And and I think a lot of people don't like to admit when they're struggling. They don't
Mm.
like to admit when they're angry or when they don't know something because everyone wants to show up like they have everything together. And I know that I don't have everything together. So if I've learned how to solve one of my own problems, then I know that it can help somebody. It won't help everyone, but it can help somebody. And so that's why I feel comfortable sharing because I
Mm.
know there are other people who will relate.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
speak from experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really do.
I see that. And you find a way to like metaphorically tie real world problems that one may be experiencing to what a plant might go through, which I really like. Like you had this one video of like, I'll butcher it, but it was a
Okay.
succulent cutting, and you were saying that yeah, as it develops roots, like if you have a little clipping, as it's developing roots and healing, that it doesn't look so great, and then eventually it comes back with its vibrance and stuff like that. And it's cool. I don't see a whole lot of people comparing so accurately the real world problems to plant care, and I imagine that's what you're seeing, and when you're caring for them, and it's kind of like the does gardening has gardening been a big part of your healing as well?
Well, the succulents have helped me in the last 3 years. So I'm new to plants. The last plant I
Mm.
had before succulents, I think I was 24 years old. And I swear I killed everything that I'd ever touched. I tried to do vegetable gardens. I tried just doing flower gardens. And then my boss at the time gave me an ivy. And she
Mm.
said, this is one of the hardiest plants you can have. Nobody can kill an ivy. You can take care of this. It was dead in 3 weeks. And I was like, that's it, done. No more plants. So I missed out on the joys of plant parenthood until 2020 when
Mm.
I had converted my yard. My front yard was a hot mess. And I wanted to convert it. So I thought, well, let me use drought tolerant plants. So I started researching succulents. And with succulents, you can just take cuttings and put them in the ground and then they'll start to grow. So my neighbors gave me a lot of cuttings. I had aeoniums, I had aloes, I had agaves, but it wasn't enough. So I went to a nursery in Buena Park. And that's when I saw all the succulents, acheverias and sedums and air plant. Like there were so many cool plants that I didn't know existed. And it was actually the Echeveria Lola. It's the one that started my addiction. They're just, even now when I look at it, it makes me so happy. Anyway, I brought it home and you can forget to water them and they're forgiving and they don't
Mm.
need a lot. And that's the kind of plant parent I am. I'm a lazy plant parent. I just need something that's going to thrive with just a little bit of love and care for me. And I just want to enjoy it. I just want to look at it and just think it's wonderful. Um, so it was through succulents that I grew my confidence. And now I
Mhm.
have some succulent adjacent plants like
Ooh,
pothos and a ZZ plant. I know you can't see it, I'm pointing to it. I have ZZ plant. I have some peperomias around here, and
nice.
they're doing well.
Nice. I
Yes.
didn't know that there were these plants were considered succulent adjacent. I don't think I have the best understanding of like the plant kingdom itself. I
Oh,
just like them.
I
But
I just I actually just made up that term because people always talk about something being
oh,
adjacent. So it's not there, like that's just something I made up. Like it's the next step
I'll take
to
it.
like, yes, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you. So, what was the first? What did you say the first plant that you got was?
Well, the first plants that I got were landscaping plants. So
Mm-hmm.
popular California landscaping plants, aeoniums, agaves, and some aloe. So I had an aloe cameronii, which is this great kind of bunching aloe plant. And then when you cut it, you cut the roots off, it turns this amazing red. And then once
Mm.
the roots grow back, it goes back to green. And then the agave ferox, yeah, just like typical green agave that just grows everywhere. And then aeoniums are the ones that look like flowers.
Yeah, the sunburst is one of them, right?
That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty one. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sunburst.
There's Sunburst. Zwartkop is the dark one. Some
The
people call it a black
witch too.
rose.
Something about the witch, right? There's a witch one.
There is, and I think there's one called a Medusa.
Ooh.
I may have made that up.
It's okay. I make stuff up all the time.
Okay, it's something like that.
So going back to 2020, what was it that brought you to the plants?
It was okay. Well, at the time, I was in a relationship, and we were living together, and we were just going to do the yard. So it was just the yard. We lived in an old house. The front yard had been falling apart. It was just atrocious, and I wanted to make the yard look nice.
Mhm.
And that was it. But I also wanted to be smart about it because we live in California. We don't get a lot of rain. I didn't want something that I'm just going to have to maintain that much. Like I don't mind going out to pull weeds, but with grass. I mean, I don't exactly know what you do with grass, but I know there's sod and
Yeah.
fertilizer, and I just don't want to do any of that. I just, again, lazy plant parent. I need minimum work, maximum results kind of thing. So that's why I did. So I actually created this whole my front yard. It was inspired. I lived in San Juan Capistrano, so it was
Mm.
inspired by San Juan. Where so I used decomposed granite, and I made this pathway, and it was like the creek, and it went to the beach, and then there was some like nice green parts. So that's what my front yard looked like. I made like this whole path, and there was a bench because I wanted people to sit down. No
Mhm.
one ever did, but kids would sit on the bench, but none of the adults ever sat on the bench.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so what but wait, I'm going back to my question
Okay, sorry.
originally. What drew but what so you want to do the landscape, and then when did you start collecting plants? How did that evolve into collecting plants?
Oh, okay. Well, because I tend to get obsessed about things that I love. So, like
Uh-huh.
when I went to school to be a social worker, like nothing could get me not unfocused from social work. I was like, I'm going to be the best social worker I could be. So
Mhm.
I did that, and then I did the same thing with exercise. I was in the health and fitness industry for a while, and then the same
Mm.
thing with succulents. When I love something, I want to know all the things about it, and so I bought. Oh God, I bought so many. And then I learned you can propagate from the leaves. So I bought $200 worth of plants. I don't know how many I had. And I tried propagating like 800 leaves, and they were just everywhere. But the Echeveria Lola is the one. It's like this white rosette a succulent.
Mhm.
It has a little bit of pink on it. It's just a really beautiful plant. Um, and I just love them. And so at first I wanted all the Echeverias. So I was just ordering online from Etsy and um, other online stores. And then the Corona apocalypse happened, and I was in corporate wellness, and I
Mhm.
lost all of my contracts. It was interesting. Nobody wanted to bring anything online, even though I knew how to bring programs online. I had some online programs. This is when I was in health and fitness. And nobody wanted to do it. So I was like, well, I'm gonna adapt. So succulents adapt and thrive. So that's a message I share a lot. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna adapt and thrive like my succulents. And then that's when I decided to I was gonna see if I could turn it into a business.
Mhm.
And then I had a couple of glasses of wine one night and came up with the name Just Suck It. And I had already had the domain because I was going to do a vlog/blog about
Mhm.
succulents because my family was tired of listening to me. So I already had the domain. I already had online programs before, so I knew how to create websites. I knew how to um, take payments. The only thing I didn't know how to do was how to ship a plant.
Mhm.
So I figured that out fairly quickly, and then that's how Just Suck It started.
Mm. I feel like you must have a history in digital marketing of some sort because your videos are very well cut, and I feel like you're kind of hip to what the modern reel, what people are looking for in the modern reel.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, so when I was in health and wellness,
Uh-huh.
I I had a few online programs. So I've been like, I went to a lot of marketing, like social media conferences, and the sort of the group that I ran with were all heavily into that. Actually, now that I think about it, most of them were, do you know that company is called Beachbody with like
Mm-mm.
P90X and
Okay.
Insanity. Yeah. So they were all, it was an MLM, which is never my jam. but I was like heavily involved with those people. And so they often use social media. So we would all go to the same conferences. So that's how I learned about
Mm.
like how to use social media. And plus I like doing reels. They're just short. I like to, they're funny or whatever.
So, at
Yeah.
what point did you decide to take that leap from working in health and wellness or social work to full time selling plants?
So the world sort of made that decision for me. I was already trying to
Mm.
find a way to exit um the health and wellness. I started having some health problems that were making it really hard for me. I used to teach a lot of fitness classes, and it was making it hard for me to teach, and I wasn't enjoying it anymore. And one thing I think people should pay attention to is how they feel when they're doing something. Like if you're
Mm.
starting to lose joy, if you're dreading it, it's time to make a change. Life's too short to get up every day hating what it is that you do. So I was already looking for an exit strategy. I didn't know what it was going to be. So when everything shut down, I'm like, well, that kind of answered that. Now it was sort of like a now what? And
Yeah.
I'd been out of social work specifically for almost a decade, and trying to get a job during that time was just impossible. So I was like, let me just see what I can do with these plants. Initially it was going to be a subscription that combined a succulent with some kind of motivational message. So I
Mm.
was going to get people to sign up, and every single month they'd get a succulent with a motivational message. But then somebody asked me to make a gift box for them, and it turned into a gift company.
Mm.
Mhm.
I see that Coco Geek Plants is likes your page often. I saw his name on there, Joseph. He's a
Yes.
friend of mine. He's been on here before. I feel like you guys have a similar style a little bit. Uh, does that resonate?
I love him. So somebody sent me a message on Instagram and said, you need to check out Coco Geek Plants. He's
Mm.
amazing. So I did. And then I have a membership called the Sucky Friends membership that I
Mhm.
launched a few months ago. And I try to get guest speakers in there. And so I looked at his page and I was like, oh my God, he's amazing. He just gives really good information and he's fun.
Mm.
So I just messaged him and I was like, hey, do you want to talk in my group? And he said yes.
Oh, cool.
And then now I think he's great. I love the way he delivers messages. He makes plants fun and
Yeah.
interesting, and people can learn from him. And he's just great. I like him.
Yeah, he's my go-to anytime I need help identifying a succulent.
Oh my
You,
God, me too.
yeah.
Or if I just have a question, when I hear something silly that's like, I don't think that's based on science, I'm going to reach out to him and see
Right.
that he answers. Yeah,
So
he's great.
tell me more about these groups and these things that you're doing. What you're so you're developing like a community around this business as well.
Yes, although I've been slacking on my marketing of it in the last couple months, but I created this group called Sucky Friends, and it's a place where people and their plants thrive. Because who cares
Mm.
if your plants are thriving if you're not? I mean, that's the way
Yeah.
I see it. So it's just this membership community that I have, and every week there's one post about succulents and how to take care of plants, and then there's one post about how to take care of yourself. And then we have a monthly, I call it a virtual happy hour, where we just get on at 5 o'clock and chat about plants, or I'll have guest speakers. I had Sonia. Have you heard of Sonia from Partly Sunny Projects? She's a hoot.
I don't
She's
think
so
so.
funny. So she was a guest. I had Joseph as a guest. I haven't had it that long. I launched it like in January,
Mm.
and then I haven't really been marketing in the last couple months, but it's fun. Like I really just want a community of people like to come together and make friends, and over having something in common. And most of the people in the group obviously love succulents and they love personal growth. They want to thrive too. And some of like my best friends, I want to say best friends, but people that I really enjoy, I've never actually met in person. Like somehow we
Yeah.
connected online, and I just really like them. And that's the world we live in right now, where sometimes you just really get to know somebody online. So I figured maybe I could bring a community together of people and we can create that for ourselves. So that's what Sucky Friends is.
I love that. We need more of that in our community for sure. That's cool.
Yeah.
And so what else do you offer as under your business? Just succulent. You're selling mostly soft succulents, or do you
Yes.
offer other plants as well? Cactus?
Oh no, I do. Yeah. So I have the soft succulents and cacti. I'm kind of into the weird ones now, lots of the, crusted and
Mm,
so I started off as a gift company, and then and I was doing mostly corporate orders, and that was really fun. And then all of a sudden that just stopped. And so now I sell to individual collectors, so people
mhm,
like me who like succulents. And then I also do pocket gardens. I'll do small landscaping projects and outdoor planters, and for people who are local,
mhm.
obviously. And then no, that's kind of it. It just evolves. So I just sort of go with the flow, like whatever is working, then that's what I do. But it's always about succulents and plants,
Yeah,
obviously.
you have to adjust according to how the market or the trends or whatever is going
Yeah.
on in the community at the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where do you sell? Do you sell with a marketplace or do you have host your own website?
I host my own website. So I use
Cool.
Shopify. Yeah. I tried using Etsy, but it's not my favorite. So I just have my Shopify website, and then I use Instagram and or social media to market myself. And it's been working. That's one of the joys of social media, is that you can connect with a lot of people.
Yeah, what I
That's
liked
really
about Etsy was that they bring a lot of traffic from what I saw, and you can advertise with them a little bit too. But
hmm
you can do that on Instagram now too.
Yeah. Do you have an Etsy store?
I did for a couple years, and then I
Okay.
left Etsy, and now I'm selling with this other marketplace called Plantly. Have you heard of
I
Plantly?
I've heard of Plantly. Yes.
They're awesome. They're super cool. Yeah.
I'll have to check them out.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so you ship all your plants and stuff?
Columnar cactus mostly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Fine.
I kind of fell out of it for a little while. I moved recently. I moved 6 months, 8 months ago, something like that. And
Hmm.
passion kind of dwindled. I faced some life challenges and now I'm slowly starting to get back into it. But it's something I struggle with is keeping the passion alive for running the business, being a dad, working in substance abuse treatment too. It's kind of like it's a my hats off to anybody that can stick to running their own business because
Yes,
that's a challenge.
it is. And motivation wanes,
Yeah.
obviously. And so there has to be a really big why. And I think a lot of times people, when they start a business, like why I started was I just love succulents and I want to share with
Mm-hmm.
people. Um, but then, and that's really exciting at first. And then you get your first sales and you're learning all these things. But then you might get some customers who are difficult, or
Mm,
you're not getting sales as often, or you get like slammed with orders, and then you realize, like, holy crap, can I really do this? Like, can I do this on my own? At least those are the things that I faced. uh,
absolutely.
so you just have to have a really strong why, and it has to be more than just a passion for plants or a passion for anything, whatever the
Yeah.
business is, because that's not what's going to um, keep anybody running a business.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But if
Yeah.
it oh, sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but like, for some people, they're okay with, it's just, I don't want to call it a side hustle because then it minimizes it. But some
Sure.
people are okay with it not being their primary income, or they may not have a huge vision for it, like world domination or
Or
something like
attachment
that.
to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
attachment to it. And they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to not do it for a few months, and then, or I'm only going to do it on the weekends, or I'm just going to take a break. Like, that's okay. I'm not there. Like, I took a week off last week to go to Canada, and I was breaking out in hives every day. Actually, that's not true. It was fine, but it was a little bit weird. Like, that was the longest break I've taken from
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. Something I noticed in the pandemic, when the pandemic hit, at least on Etsy where I was selling, there was a huge boom and I was like too busy. I was
Hmm.
overwhelmed with busy. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to go full time. I'm going to do this full time. And then it slowly kind of went down towards that, when things started opening back up and people started
Hmm.
returning to work. And yeah, ever since it's been hard for me to find my way back up to that level of motivation and passion. I still care for plants and I garden nearly every day, but the selling aspect, I don't know, there's a barrier there that I'm working on for sure. But I was going to ask you, how do you stay motivated? How do you break up the monotony of being home? Or I don't mean to call it monotonous, but it can
No, no,
be,
it
you
can be.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's because I have a vision. of freedom that I want, that
Mm,
I think what in my brain, running a business is one of the only options. Winning the
mm,
lottery, or and then because the other options are going back to school and getting more degrees, and I'm going to be 50. I mean, I'm not, in a few years anyway. And
mm,
I like the thought of having to start a whole new career at my age so that I can command a larger salary. Like, that makes me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit. But
mhm,
a business, I can do, I'm in control, I can do that. So the good thing is that I love succulents. I love them. And so it's not like, because I know some people who sell succulents because they think it's easy, especially here in California, because we have access to them.
sure.
And so them, it's strictly a business. But I really love the plants, and I really get excited when I know that I have a role in getting somebody else excited about of whether it's a succulent or another plant, just because I know how much happiness it's brought me. And then in addition, I also love, most of the time, having a business. Like,
Mm,
I like the strategy. I like figuring out social media. Like, the parts I don't like the in the inventory, or figuring all that stuff out, like, or making sure I have all my plants, that's not fun. But when there's like learning how to do a website, or I use Klaviyo for my email marketing, and you have to set up all these systems and stuff, I like doing that stuff. So
mm.
it's not bad for me.
Yeah, it's not work. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Most of the time.
Is there any trade-off that you're making or sacrifice that you're making? Perhaps you're getting more happiness but sacrificing other things? Or have you been able to be successful enough to where you have, I'm talking financial here, but and I
Right.
don't like it to me, it was like when I was selling full time, I wasn't making as much money as I would working full time, but I was
Mhm.
happier
Yes.
at the time because I was doing something that I loved.
Hmm.
Do you have that trade-off, or feel like there's any sacrifice made that's rewarding more
Okay,
so
so
than financially sustaining?
um okay, so for my the first 18 months of Just Suck It, I made more than I ever did as a social worker. So
Really?
there, I did. I made more. Like, the corporate was insane. Like,
That's so cool.
yes. But then it like stopped.
Right.
Right. And I think for the same, I mean, I still get corporate orders, just not to the same level that I once was. Hopefully I'll get back there again. Um, but I think, honestly, for me, is I have kids. My youngest just turned 18. Well, he's graduated from high school and he's moving.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like I should have taken more breaks and spent more time with my kids.
Yeah.
And or if I had found, while I was building it, because I remember I told you I did like health and wellness, and I really tried hard with moderate financial success, and I kept working at it. And sometimes I feel guilty that I wasn't able to provide more for my kids because it was just me. And
Mm,
so that's something that I still feel guilty about now, with the kids. And I've talked to them about it, although they say they really appreciate watching me work, and the work that I've done. I've always been available to them. There's
right.
never a time where they would come to me and say they needed me, and I was like, I was too busy. But
Yeah.
financially, there were times where we just, we couldn't go on vacations, and we couldn't, go out to eat the way that other people were. And
Yeah.
it's because I was choosing to build a business instead of going to, work someplace. So
Kind of a
that was probably,
double-edged sword.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I
yeah.
often say, I've said on the podcast many times that I would rather struggle a little bit more, but have quality time, at least in the early years of my son. My
Mm-hmm.
son's 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's okay now, but I can see how it would be better for me to have a more financially rewarding job for them as he gets older and be able to provide those things that you were just talking about. I'm sure. Yeah,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
makes sense.
And like I said, I get a little obsessive sometimes too. And so I feel like there were times that I wasn't present the way that I should have. But I did notice that years ago. So I started meditating, really read some books on how, like, learning how to turn my brain off so I can be present with the people that I love or whoever I'm with.
Mm,
I want them to feel like I'm here
yeah.
versus I'm just standing but thinking about something else. Because I don't like that when I feel that way when with
Mm,
somebody else. So I had to learn how to do that.
Do you find that there's a meditative aspect to taking care of succulents as well?
Yes. I have to remind myself to do that though, because I get lost in thought. But yeah, I just there's to me just looking at them,
Yeah.
especially plants like the echeverias,
Uh,
when I see how their leaves are shaped, to me there's geometric perfection to them, the way
yeah.
that the leaves are layered and shaped. They're just perfect. And I love to just look at them and it bring me a sense of peace.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, in that sense,
Yeah.
like that's one. And there are no other plants that actually I love plants. Like I love the pothos and whatever, and I like seeing like all the trailing ones when they, the vines, but there's no other plant that actually makes me stop. And sometimes like I catch my breath um looking at like the most perfect succulent.
I feel struck by a what is the word I'm looking for? Like a powder coated farina. When I
Yeah.
look at like a Dudleya, or I was just thinking about those imported echeverias. I had like an orange Monroe, and I had
Yes.
this like you couldn't touch it because it was just so pristine and beautiful. There's something very striking about farina to me, and it doesn't quite make sense how it's so vibrant. It feels fake when you look at it.
It does.
Yeah.
And it was sometimes when I'm doing my videos when I go live, people say,
Uh-huh.
"Is that a real plant?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's real. That's why it's amazing." No,
Right.
I totally get it. They just sometimes they're just so perfect they look fake.
So it's the echeveria that does it for you at the end of the day, if you had to
That
choose.
that and aeoniums, like there's
Mm.
this one plant called an aeonium noble.
Mhm.
It is huge. It can grow around 18 inches to 24 inches wide. And it just
Mm.
has these beautiful leaves. It's green and then it turns kind of bronzy in the sun. That one is really incredible too.
Now, grow methods. Do you grow any succulents from seed? Are you propagating?
Oh, I don't grow from seed.
No,
That's a lot.
I know it's
No,
work.
it is. And you have to like, I don't know if you need humid. I don't know, but I do cuttings
Uh-huh.
and leaves. I love propagating from leaves. That's super fun
Mm.
and
Nice.
easy. Mhm.
And then, like, do you source locally, American grown, or are you importing as well?
So mostly right here in California. I
Okay.
love going to San Diego. Have you been to any growers in San
I
Diego?
hear all about it. Vista and San Diego, Fallbrook.
You have to. You have to go and you have to see all. They're amazing. There are some that are open to anybody, and then there are some that are just for trade. So you need to have your seller's permit.
Mm-hmm.
But the growers here, they're the ones who ship everywhere else. So I go to San Diego a lot, OC Succulents in Irvine, and they're actually opening up a location close by to me in Whittier. So that's gonna make a difference in the drive. But I'll drive 2 hours to San Diego, just spend the day, load up. Sometimes I rent a truck or I'll load up I had a Kia Soul and I would get boxes that were big enough for the flats. So I would just stick the flats in the boxes and then just stack up all the boxes and come home with like 800 plants.
Wow.
Yeah.
By yourself?
I had to get creative. Yeah. By myself. Yes.
Did you pass any of this love for plants down to your kids?
No, but my
No.
daughter is trying to she moved to North Carolina
Mm.
and we went and while I was there, we went to a nursery and we picked out some succulents and she made her own little arrangement. And right now she's just trying to keep those alive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And I had another question about that. What was it? Oh, soil. Do you have a preferred soil? Are you nitpicky about care at all, or are you kind of just like I'll grow it the way it is?
I'll grow it the way it is. I think I don't, are you on Facebook?
If you're talking about the groups, I've dipped my toe in them.
Okay. Well, if you're any plant groups on Facebook, there are a lot of opinionated people.
Yes.
And it's like you have to do it this way, and you're horrible if you don't, that kind of thing. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever is easy for you and whatever works, you should do. Like if your
Mm.
plant's growing in it, who cares what brand it is or where you got it? Sometimes I make my own soil. I do think that succulents have to be in amended soil because they can get root rot. So I'll just get regular potting soil and throw some perlite in it, or sometimes I'll buy pre-made cactus soil. It just sort of depends. But that's the extent of it. I don't know. People overcomplicate everything. So,
I agree.
like whether it's plants or anything, I mean, you can see people talking about their puppies, and there'll be a whole comment section of people disagreeing about what's best for puppies. So, like, just find what works for you and friggin' do it and be happy with it.
Yeah, I have a similar style for sure too. A lot of my plants are in the same pot that they came in, and then maybe a year from now they'll get transplanted. Maybe. We'll
Yeah.
see.
And you know what's funny? I hear this all the time. The soil that the succulents come in from, they're crap. You got to change it right away. And I'm thinking the growers grew it in that soil.
It
It's
looks
got
healthy,
to,
right? It came healthy.
yes. And then they'll repot it right away. And then it goes through shock or something. And then it's,
Yeah,
can someone help me with my plant? What happened? Like, should have left it alone. It was fine.
I
But
agree.
people have to learn that on their own, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's plants altogether. And if you
Yeah.
step into one of those Facebook groups for the first time, you might get scared away by the plant community. But the Instagram community tends to be a lot more friendly. You don't see as
They
much
are.
condescending talking down to people and such strong opinions.
Right. Wait, and are you on TikTok?
I am, yeah, for the
Okay. Well,
podcast.
okay. Well, just suck it. I have just suck it on TikTok. And let me tell you, I have the nicest people. It's the
Yeah.
night. They're so fun. I have the greatest community on TikTok, and I was
Mm,
hesitant to do that, but there's just something. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I would be sad if TikTok went away. But I
mm.
also think they're the kind of people that I invite. Like, I sort of set the expectations, and I feel like because I set the expectations for my page, and maybe I'm being
Manifesting.
hopeful. Yeah, well, I think, like I say, this is a positive side of TikTok. And because of that, I feel like I just get a bunch of people who are looking for that. And there's
Yeah.
never anybody like rude. I have a rule that I don't reply. Like if someone's being snarky to me, I won't reply. I won't
Mm.
be snarky back. Um, do I want to be sometimes? Absolutely. But I just think that just adds more fuel to the fire. And I would just rather I either respond like it's always neutral or with kindness. That's it. And because of that, I think I've built that kind of community on TikTok. I rarely
Yeah.
get every once in a while I get a troll or something, but I have a lot of fun there.
That's cool. The problem I have with TikTok is right when I open it, it's like right in your face. It's like
I know.
explosive video, 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 video. I'm like, oh, how do I get out of here?
I
I
know.
need a
And there's
moment.
I know. There's the ad and like skip ad and then there you go. I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But
But go ahead, please.
no, this is completely random, but right now I'm totally obsessed. Did you with jar egg?
What's
The
that?
jar the oh my god. So there's this woman who it's her tag is Montgomery Frizzles, and I think
Mhm.
there's a chicken type called a frizzle from what
Mm.
I gather, but she accidentally cracked a fertilized egg, so she decided to put it in a jar in the incubator and see if it would grow, because apparently they're doing this in Asia somewhere where they just grow chickens in a jar. And
Mm.
then so I saw it and he made it today. They named him Jar Jar Beaks. Like, how great is that? And then the last one was Kevin Beacon. And so she's always now it's like a thing. And I get up in the morning, I check the status of the jar eggs, and then before I go to bed, I check the status of the jar eggs. And it's all because of TikTok. And so now my timeline is filled with chickens. And I never thought I'd like chicken. I don't want any, but they're super fun. Anyway, it's just a fun way to waste time.
I totally want chickens. We've been talking about building a coop. I'm on like 4 acres here in the mountains, in the Santa Monica Mountains. So we want to get chickens and we want to get a goat. So, and I saw a video where someone picked up a bunch of fertilized eggs from Trader Joe's and then put them in an incubator and hatched
Yes,
chickens
I didn't know that could
from
happen.
refrigerated eggs.
I know, which kind of, when you think about it, someone
Makes
was going to
sense.
eat that, but nothing happens to the eggs until they're fertilized, but they won't grow until they're in the incubator or they get heated up, whatever it
They get
is.
the
So
love that they need.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But you should try it. That'd be fun.
It's just fun little project for my son, I think. Yeah. Right. Why not?
Yeah, and see if you can. So Montgomery Frizzles on TikTok is really fun. I really like her because sometimes the chicken, if there's not the right amount of humidity, I don't know if you know this, but they can get saran wrapped in there. And so that you have to go and crack the egg. And
Mm.
so you use warm water. Why I know this, I don't know, but you use warm water and then you rub it on the chick and then you break a little bit of the egg off until you get them out of the egg. Sometimes they need help
Mm.
getting
Mm.
out of the egg. So that could be fun too.
Yeah. 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 That's cool. And I would have never known about jar. Did you call it jar egg?
Yeah, jar egg.
Jar egg. All right. I'm going to
If you
follow them.
if you look up the hashtag jar egg, it'll bring you to Montgomery Frizzles. Now other people are trying to do it too, but like she's the goat. I don't know if anyone can do it better than her. I don't know.
So tell me a little bit more about how you start. When did you start drawing these parallels between real life problems and what you were noticing in plant behavior and growing?
I don't really know the exact moment, but it's pretty
Sure.
much how my brain naturally works. If
Mm.
give me anything and I'll figure out a way to spin it into a story that could help people. If that it's just how my brain works. And when I was in fitness, I would do the same thing. Like when people would get tired, I would tell them, your body's like a power plant. You can generate enough energy to finish strong. So like I'd always find different ways to get people inspired to do their best.
Mm.
And then plus I can't do anything just to do it. Like I think my heart would feel empty if I were
Mm.
just selling succulents.
Yeah.
Like I love them and I can talk about them, but I know that people get happy when they get a succulent, or if someone like gives somebody one of my gifts, like I imagine the person opening it and feeling really happy about it.
Yeah.
But I also like I have to feel like I'm making a difference
Yeah.
somehow. And so and if I can help someone be a little happier or feel a little less stressed or be a little more confident, then I want to do that. Like I can't
Mm.
imagine never like not doing that ever. It's just it's part of my DNA.
Yeah. Well, what a beautiful way to see the world through metaphors.
Yeah. We got to use whatever works, right? Because I
Yeah.
think people, I mean, no matter what, people struggle with confidence issues. They're going to go through challenges. We all go through those things.
Yeah.
Although we forget that just because somebody might have different beliefs, that like they still have sadness, they still have challenges, and for some reason, succulents have offered me a larger audience than I've ever had, even when I
Yeah.
was doing health and fitness. And so there's something to it. And I like you, I kind of go with the flow. I have a vision for just suck it, but I'm also open to whatever the universe brings to me.
Mm.
But I do know it will always be something to do with empowerment and inspiration. Um, because if it's helped me, then I know it can help somebody else.
Yeah. Plants have no boundaries. They cross
Yeah.
all ethnic,
Yes.
political, what have you, insert
Right.
label lines, and it brings everybody together. People that we wouldn't normally maybe sit in the same room together, we now are able to, or maybe perhaps virtually. But um,
Yes.
I imagine that comes from your experience with social work, that
I think
wanting to help people.
I think so, but also a lot of it has to do with my childhood and how I grew up. My dad
Mm-hmm.
was a really mean alcoholic. My mother,
Mm.
who's fabulous, was 18 years younger, from Jamaica, didn't have an education when they got married. Um, and so she sort of felt trapped too, but like amazing mother. So I don't blame anything on her.
Mm.
But like he was mean, he was abusive. I had some behavior problems as a result of it, but I was just a struggling kid, struggling teenager. And I wish someone had seen that, or had just not thought I was just like a bad kid or whatever. And
Yeah.
so when I got older, I thought if there's a way that I be can help someone not feel the way that I did, then that's what I wanted to do. It's one of the reasons why I went to be a social worker. Um, I just the thought of someone going through struggles by themselves makes me really sad. and or someone like feeling hopeless or feeling like they're not good enough, which was my limiting belief. I went to therapy. So I figured that out in therapy, that my
All
limiting
better.
belief. Oh, better done. And what's funny was I still, so when I start to have doubt or when I feel like I'm not good enough, I know what that feels like now, and I
Yeah.
can change it, remind myself that it's not true. Um, and we all have some kind of limiting belief. No one leaves this earth unscathed. Everyone has
Yeah.
some kind of limiting belief that they carry with themselves that affects how they can thrive. And so I just don't want anyone to ever feel that way, like the way that I felt. So however I can show up to help somebody, that's what I love to do.
You mentioned before we started recording that you found that helping people working as a social worker was also in turn healing you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in different ways. So one, just the social work curriculum, because it's really important when, like, as a social worker, that you identify your own values and beliefs so that you don't put it on somebody else's. Because
Mm,
someone else is going to have their own and belief system, and they might actually contradict our own.
yeah.
And but we still have to serve them. We still have to be of service to them. We still have to make sure that they're getting their needs met. So through that part, I was able to figure out what was important to me. The only demographic I realized that I couldn't work with would be pedophiles. I had to identify that very early. I know, and the thing is, they still need services. Like, there
Yeah.
are people who work with them, but I knew that I couldn't.
Yeah.
And then, so that way, and then you have to figure out why. And then when I left, when I graduated, I worked in a behavior management program, children who had behavior problems from 2 to 6.
Mm.
It was really interesting because there were some parents who were amazing and their kids were just little heathens. They tried, they tried their best, these parents. And then there were others where they were court ordered. So these were parents who were not parenting, and the
Yeah.
kids were just really sweet. And I knew they were sweet, but they were pretty much raised by wolves because their
Yeah.
parents, and then everything in between. So that helped me um, learn not to be as judgy, because you never know what's going on in someone's life. And then I went to hospice. I was a hospice social
Mm.
worker, and let me tell you, there's nothing like learning how to love life and watching death every single day.
Yeah.
And but I think out of all my social work jobs, the hospice one was the most rewarding, because when we think about it, when someone is giving birth, when they're having a baby, everyone comes around, everyone is celebrating, lots of support. But when somebody's dying, it's really uncomfortable for a lot of people. They don't know what to say. They're faced with their own mortality, so they don't want to deal with it. So they like leave families alone. But that's really
Yeah.
when someone needs to be supported. And the lessons I've learned from the people who were dying,
Yeah.
what they realized was important and what wasn't important. Like, when you get old, I heard this so much, and it's not profound, but it's, make sure your laundry is on the main level so you don't have to go up and down stairs with a laundry basket. I never would have thought about that, and I know that sounds silly, but I heard that over and over and over again. But then there are also things like people who waited to have fun in life until they retired, and then they would get sick, and then they couldn't, so they
Yeah.
didn't go on trips, they didn't, they had all this money saved and they didn't enjoy life, and all of a sudden they have cancer, and they're like, I didn't get to do any of the things. So be smart about it, but make sure you enjoy life.
Mm.
And then, there were times where families were estranged and then they get back together.
Mm.
And then it also demystified. Is this too heavy? We don't have to.
No, I go.
Oh,
We go dark here.
okay. That's what I've listened to a couple, but yeah, but like demystified the dying process. And
Yeah.
almost like everybody dies the same, and it's not like the movies at all. Um, and and then it doesn't matter how much money they have, what color they have, like what color they are, whether they live. And I was in Tennessee at the time, and I covered a lot of the rural areas. So whether they were in a single wide trailer or one of the McMansions, they all died the same,
Yeah.
and that levels the playing field. At least it did for me. Like, so.
Yeah,
um
well, I feel like it's something that we don't talk about enough. And it's actually something I'm going through right now. My grandmother just got put on hospice. She's got
oh,
kidney failure. She's 92 though. She's lived a
mm,
beautiful life. And Yeah, I'm interested in end of life therapy. I've been looking at some of these studies that they've been doing on end of life therapy. I'm interested in what happens after death.
Hmm.
Uh, the spiritual
Yeah,
component to that, I don't know, but
there's a lot.
yeah.
So I remember one, it was, I'll never forget this. So there, it was a lovely family, and she died at 3:15 in the morning,
Uh-huh.
and she was old, and they had like just regular clocks, not digital. They
Mhm.
all stopped at 3:15 when she died.
Whoa.
It, yeah, that was probably like the freak, as far as like freakiness. That was one of the, we're like, what? And because we would have calls every morning to talk about, I wasn't on call that day, but it was the nurse reporting in
Uh-huh.
the morning. And she was like, I was there. All the clocks stopped the minute she died. And I
Wow.
got butterflies. And so there's, there's something, there's just,
Yeah.
there are too many things. And then, in the last couple of days, when a lot of times when people are dying, they start to see and have conversations with people who have passed on.
Yeah.
And it's just, and if you're there, it just feels so real.
Yeah.
Like they're there. These are real conversations with people that are welcoming. At least I want to believe that it's real, welcoming into whatever happens next.
Yeah.
Um,
I love
and
that you don't shy away from that.
no, it's
Yeah.
it's too incredible, and it's too amazing to just dismiss. Like,
Yeah.
why would you dismiss the possibility of something so beautiful happening when we're gone?
My grandma keeps saying that my papa, who is since deceased since 1994, he comes and sees her all the time and he waves to her and he tells her, come on, come on. She keeps saying that. And they say, I promise we'll wrap up about the death soon.
No, it's okay.
And
No, we
they
don't.
say, I'm talking to the listeners.
Okay, okay,
I,
sorry.
they said that the moment before my grandfather died, that he sat up and he said, I am now dead, and then laid back down and died, flatlined him.
He
Like,
may have.
what? It's incredible
Yes.
stuff there, and near death experiences too. These
Hmm.
people have these crazy experiences,
Yeah. It's
psychedelic experiences, in their near death experience.
So there's a book for you that you might, it's just a little pamphlet. It's called Gone from My Sight.
Mhm.
It's one of the best things. I would give it to all of the families. I think you can order it online. I don't know where, maybe directly from the person who wrote it, but do you have it?
No.
Okay,
Uh-uh.
Gone from My Sight. It's really good. Basically talks about what you're going to see physically and emotionally from people for like 6 months before they die. So it'll go
Mhm.
months, weeks, days, hours, minutes
Mm.
before. Because remember, I said everyone pretty much dies the same. So there are
Yeah.
physical symptoms that happen. So whenever someone tells me they have a family member on hospice or they're considering hospice, I'm like, you got to get this book, Gone
Gone
from
from
My
my
Sight.
sight.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can find it and send it to you.
Oh
Like
yes,
the link.
please. I
Yeah,
would love that.
yeah.
And what else was I gonna say? um Anyways, I'm sorry. I feel like I've been like kind of spacey there, and it took me a while to warm up for our conversation. So I appreciate you've done a great job of keeping the conversation going. I don't know. I think I'm a little sleep deprived, but
Well, but like you worked today and you had to change, or like, because we were supposed to meet at 2:30 and then you had to
yeah,
go to work. And I think you haven't even changed. You're still all dressed up and everything.
yeah.
And you sat down and started chatting with me about succulents and death.
It's something very close to all of us, though.
Yeah.
We all have dealt with it, and we'll eventually deal with it ourselves. So,
And it doesn't have to be that heavy. Like that's the one thing that I learned from hospice. And I don't
mm,
mean to be light about it, but we
yeah.
all deal with it, and it can be beautiful. It doesn't have to be heavy, and it's nothing we have to be afraid of.
And now, did you grow up with some spirituality, or do you currently
Oh,
practice any kind of spirituality?
okay. So my mother is Pentecostal, grew up Jamaica, speaking tongues, all that stuff.
Ooh.
It was never my jam. And
Uh-huh.
I remember being 4 years old, and I was in the living room. I lived in Calgary at the time. And all of a sudden, this commercial came on, and it had to do with Buddhism. I don't remember what, but there was Buddha, there was the lotus flower, and there was like a Zen garden. And I remember stopping and seeing that, and I was like, I'm supposed to be there. Like that's my jam.
Mm.
Without knowing, like it made an impression. So I'm not against Christians. I've never connected with Christianity, even though I had to go. to church. And then I then went through the struggle because there was this, what if God is real, or the Christian God? I don't want to burn in hell, because that's what I was told. Like, the only way through heaven is through Jesus Christ. But then I just did, I did a religion in the world class, and that was incredible. I loved it. And long story short, I ended up at a Vedanta temple in Malibu, and I was like, this is home. This is where I'm supposed to be. And one of the lessons that they teach in Vedanta is there's one truth, many paths to get there. Whatever helps you be a better person, do that. Christianity did not make me a better person, but Vedanta and Buddhism does. And so that's where I lean. There's something beautiful and calming about it, and it keeps me focused and a better person.
That's another thing you'll have to send me. I'm 10 minutes from there. I'll have to go check it out.
Yes. Yeah.
I would love to.
Yeah. But what's funny? So I was dating this guy, and he said, I thought he said we're gonna go do yoga at the temple or something like that. And I was like, okay. So then I show up in shorts and flip flops, because I'm here in my yoga mat thinking, and he's like, huh. And I said, and he was wearing jeans and shirt. I'm like, wait, are we going to do yoga? He's like, no, it's the temple of Yogananda, who brought Vedanta to the United States. I missed the Nanda part. I only heard yoga. But yeah, it was
Was everyone else dressed nicely?
Pretty much. Yeah, well, I mean, what? No, I don't
normal?
know. It's just normal. I mean, you just come as you are at those places. They don't care. I mean, it's Malibu too, so it's like hippies and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for taking the time to do this and for being flexible.
Well, thank you. This was really fun. I appreciate you.
And where can everyone find you? What's your website URL? I'll plug it in the description too.
Okay, my website is justsuckit.com, SUCC. If you put SUCK, I'm not responsible for what comes up in your search engine. And then on most social media, I'm just Suck It. And on TikTok, it's just Suck It OC.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to check you out on TikTok.
Okay.
All right.
That's good.
Just Suck It. Andrea, thank you very much. If everyone could please like, review, and subscribe to the podcast and hit that share button, we would both appreciate that greatly. Bye.